let's look at a confidence interval using a T. Now, because these samples are small, the first thing we do want to do is assess. We talked about how to do that using the normal probability plot as well as the box plot. So be sure and take a quick look. Thing that in our mind triggers this to be abnormal, outliers, the normal probability deal of data points out to confidence bands. Next, we're going to go ahead and look at how to use a T-statistic to find the confidence interval. Very, very similar to what we did with the Z-statistic. Notice that this is only a little bit different. So what we're actually doing is using the same kind of formula, except we're going to use a T-table to get our data, or our reference value, instead of. For the margin of error, look very much like the Z1. Notice we have a T value here and an S up here to represent sample standard deviation. Now the sample standard deviation, in this case, given from the data, and remember in your assignment they actually did the for you, it's actually given as well, is 10. The square root of n, how many babies were included? Assume 12 babies were included in this study. Now how do I find this T value? Well, I have to use a reference table to do this, and we have to be careful how we do this. We want to be 95% confident, which means, essentially, there's a 5% chance of error, 100 minus 95. Now, to find the value on the T table, we have to divide this in half, because we have 5% divided up between the lower part of the confidence interval and the higher. So this gives us a reference point for the probability of 0.025. Remember, we also have to look this up using our degrees of freedom. We need to know the number of data points, which is 12, minus 1. We always subtract 1, gives us 11 degrees of freedom. So we'll go over to our table here. And we'll look up 11 degrees of freedom with the confidence tail probability of 0.25 down to 11 degrees of freedom. 2.201 would be my T value. So I can go ahead and fill this in where I see T. Next, we want to go ahead and evaluate. Remember, you can use your calculator to do this on your Windows machine or a Mac. They both have the capability. But when I evaluate this, I get a margin of error of 6.35. To find our confidence level, or our confidence interval, we add this and subtract this from our average. So in our case, the average was given to us as 38.25 weeks. We can subtract the confidence, or the margin of error, to get our lower end, and we could add the margin of error to get our upper end. So 38.25 minus 6.35 gives us a lower end of 31.9. And then we'll go ahead and find the upper end. $38.25 plus 6.35, 44.6. Remember, for ease of use and typing, you may write your confidence intervals in parentheses. Just be sure the lower end comes first, or the smaller number, and then the upper end.